Things have been so persistently dry. In fact, if you look, the drought monitor showing some of those changes from early October where we had exceptional drought. We've broken down a lot of that across the Lone Star State just in a matter of a month. Unfortunately, though, there's a lot more dry weather to come, which means we probably will be ramping up that drought too. If you look at the numbers right now, fairly mild as we head into Saturday night. Temperatures in the 70s. We've had a lot of warmth with high pressure sticking around, so it doesn't quite feel like November, but keep in mind, it's still flu season. All great tips, and as I mentioned, it's not going to feel like flu season, but we know it's already ramping up across the nation. Sunday, warm, dry weather continues, so if you can get out, get some fresh air, try to stay active, try to stay healthy. Upper 70s for Dallas, and we're in the mid-70s for Atlanta and Raleigh. Plenty of sunshine. Jacksonville, still mild, but if you're tempted to go to the beaches, just watch out because there is that risk for rough surf and rip currents. Well, thanks for joining us here on the AccuWeather Network as we continue to take you through your Saturday evening. I can't believe it's already November. It just seems like it's going so fast.
I know, especially with like the weather in the Northeast being so mild. It doesn't quite feel like November.
Yeah, I was talking to our coworker Jeff Cornish yesterday, and he's like, Melissa, it's early October. I was like, check the calendar, Jeff. It's early November. We've got 7 days till Veterans Day and Thanksgiving also coming up this month. So some things to look forward to as the seasons change.
I can't believe it.
Of wet weather. That's the good news. If we open up the radar across the northern tier of the nation, we've got some showers across parts of western New York State into parts of north central Pennsylvania, and just a few sprinkles there in the Adirondacks. Probably one of the biggest stories that we have ongoing is the snow that's breaking apart over northern Minnesota. That's where we found some interesting times. I want to check in on a few cameras for you as we talk about what is New York City. Let's face it, we want to be done with the rain. Each weekend we've struggled. Right now, numbers in the upper 50s here and looking quiet and dry, as you saw on the radar, nothing around. So that means we actually get to end this stretch more than likely because it doesn't look like we're going to be finding rain heading through midnight tomorrow night. So our weekend of wet weather, our weekends of wet weather, I should say, are coming to an end, which is good because, again, we don't want to get anywhere near that record of 12. I think 4 more probably would have been a difficult time through the month of November. So let's talk about what we have on tap for Sunday, because it's not to say that the entire Northeast is dry. We do have some sprinkles through parts of northern New England, but for the most part, we are looking pretty quiet, fairly mild from the high pressure system in the southeast that is keeping things so dry in many locations. And that means most of us enjoying a pretty pleasant day to close out the weekend. 64 in New York City. Of course, the marathon going on. A lot of the temps will be in the 50s throughout that race. So that's some great news for runners. Meanwhile, 54 in Detroit. And we've got in the 60s in Charleston. Notice some of those sprinkles, though, working in places like Burlington. Next storm system. That's the one coming out of the northwest that Michelle was talking about leaving right now. And it does provide some rainfall across the upper Midwest into northern Minnesota, upper Michigan, and northern Wisconsin. And we do get places like Green Bay, a couple of rain showers. It's still a pretty warm system, and look at all the warmth below the system on the southern side. 66 in Omaha, 61 in Chicago with a few extra clouds. Considering this is November, it's a mild November day, but the storm system, as it continues to push east, keeps the mild air to the south, allows for most of the precipitation to fall as rain in the U.S., which means even as you're headed back to work on Monday, there could be a few showers in places like Buffalo, but we're still close to 60 as we get there. Create some big headaches. We also know a little bit more about the Nepal earthquake, 5.6 magnitude earthquake Friday that killed more than 150 people. So we'll have the latest on AccuWeather.com. You can also see things of the season changing, like fire tornadoes in Australia. And with the seasons changing and the days getting shorter, there are some things you should know in the Northern Hemisphere, and there's some great times to enjoy the snow like it's the first time you've ever seen it. Dogs do a great job at that.
They really do, especially huskies. They're in their element. They are so happy.
Like looking so majestic
yes.
and everything. Well, we want to thank you for joining us here on this Saturday. I'm Melissa Constanzer.
And I'm Michelle McLeod. Melissa, I'm excited to get that extra hour of sleep.
I think a lot of us are. I mean, who can blame us? A 49-hour weekend versus 48. it's definitely worth it to get it back at least a little bit. I know there's a lot of pain on the other side of the spectrum. Some people still don't like this, but again, change those clocks as we head. Well, we certainly have seen the times change across the northern tier of the nation. It was chilly and snowy in some spots throughout the week, Michelle, but hey, we're starting to warm things up, changing in a different direction. In fact, if you look at the radar, really it's only been about the rain showers out there, not much in the way of blue on the map. You can see some rain showers through western New York, north central Pennsylvania. Also have some of that coming across the I-70 corridor there of Missouri. Where we have had a little bit of snow, northern Minnesota. That's skirting its way over Lake Superior at this point in time, so there's really not much left with that as we head into the evening hours. So those are some of the changes that we've had across the northern tier of the nation, but really the story continues with the mild surge of air. Keep in mind there's that high pressure system off to the southeast that's trying to pump in the warm flow, and while it does so, it's finding only a little bit of resistance across northern New England. So that's going to allow for a few sprinkles out there for your Sunday. It's not a lot of wet weather, but Burlington expects some showers. Given that it's early November, we're still holding on to some pretty mild weather. We're close to 70 in the nation's capital. So there's a real warm surge of air trying to push in from the south and keeping us mild. Farther to the west, that mild air is pushing in, but it's meeting some resistance from those storms coming out of the northwest. They're sliding their way through southern Canada, and that's allowing for more rainfall here across the northern tier of the nation. And you'll note the showers places like Minnesota, Wisconsin, and even into upper Michigan. So Green Bay, a couple of showers for you. Temperatures lower 50s. Chicago, with extra clouds, we're still making it to the lower 60s. Given it's November, it's pretty mild, and we're in the mid-60s too across Iowa. So there's some warmth to be had despite some of that moisture cutting through the northern tier of the nation. That storm system is going to wrap up a bit more for us heading into Monday. It slides east over the Great Lakes, where it will produce mostly rain in the U.S. Only a few spots could get in on that snowy weather, like International Falls. Of course, the icebox of the nation would. As you'll note, we've got the warmth in Charleston, temperatures in the lower 70s to start off your work week. Very mild there. Boston back into the lower 50s with some extra clouds, and even Buffalo, as we get that rain, temperatures should be in the upper 50s. So it's going to stay pretty mild here across the northeast into Monday. These are quick hitting storm systems. So Monday night, it's out of here. The next storm system hops in real quick on Wednesday night. Michelle?